Welcome to the very first episode of Upon Further Inspection, a mechanical integrity podcast. I'm Branden from Core Solutions. With me is Greg Alvarado from Inspectioneering. Before we start diving into the industry, we figured it's only fair to introduce ourselves, who we are, how we got here, and why we started this podcast. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's kick things off.
We call this our inaugural podcast.
I think inaugural is probably the better answer. Probably our inaugural one. But yeah, so this is it. This is Upon Further Inspection. So, Greg, good having you. Nice seeing you. It's been a while coming, trying to get this going. But luckily we've been able to work through a few things, some technical difficulties, a few other things happening, but we're finally able to sit down and put together the first inaugural podcast episode of Upon Further Inspection. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I think it was a great idea you had, Brandon. I mean, we're not chasing scratch, but we're chasing something here. and I hope this winds up being a really educative and fun experience for everybody that joins us. So, Brandon, tell me, how did you get started in this world of mechanical integrity in this industry?
I just lucked into it, honestly. I was at a school career fair. I started here right out of school, actually. And I was at a career fair. I had already gone through, I don't know how many different lines, standing, talking to people, talking to recruiters, selling myself, and ended up, as I was like walking out, there was this guy standing there, just this big, giant person of a man. And he's standing next to this booth that's got a TV monitor and says equity engineering. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's engineering. I'll go talk to the guy. And so I go up to him and it was looking back, it was the most ridiculous thing ever. I said, so what do you guys even do? Which, looking back now, is kind of a funny question, because, when you're out on the road and you're talking with people, especially with equity, a lot of people don't understand all the different things that equity does do. And so for me, as a college kid, to go up to the guy and say, what do you guys even do? He was very nice. He was very polite. He didn't have to be. This was Ryan Jones, though, at the time. And you and I both know Ryan, and a super great guy, really nice. And so he was very, very patient with me and explained to me everything. And I said, well, I'm looking for an internship. And he goes, well, I'm sorry, we're looking for new hires. I go, okay. But he gave me his card and I kept it. I put it in I had a Ford Escape. That thing was great. I could work on it all day, never mess anything up. I put it in the one of the little compartments there. And a year later, when I was looking for jobs, I didn't want to be a process engineer. So I'm a chemical engineer. I didn't want to be a process engineer. So I interviewed with Turner Construction. I interviewed with Bloomberg to go be an analyst in New York. I even interviewed with Teach for America. Thought I wanted to go be a teacher. I still wouldn't mind being a teacher, honestly. But ended up coming across his card. And there was a posting there. I ended up finding a job posting, reached out, and the rest was kind of history. Came in and worked as an RBI engineer for a little bit. And then January of 2020, thought I was going to go travel the world, and I moved into sales. It was going to be the best job ever. I'm going to go meet everybody, because I like talking with people, I like meeting people. I like seeing different areas of the world. And, obviously lockdown happened and quarantine. So ended up on Zoom calls and Teams calls. But in doing that, I tried to figure out what can I take from this? And so I tried to learn as much as I could as I was talking with people about the programs that they were developing and the different pieces that they were trying to put together. And then, eventually ended up leading our core solutions team now. So just over the years, trying to talk with people, learn more, and be able to provide the best level of service that I could. So yeah, honestly, I got into this world just by happenstance, literally walking walking past somebody and starting a conversation. So
What are the things that like now, I mean, that's a great background. And today, what are the things that float your boat? What are the things that you're passionate about in your job?
yeah, I think pushing for us to start this conversation right here is kind of, I think, the crux of all of it.
Mm.
For me, it's really trying to share knowledge. So my background, right? I talked about all the way I got here, but I also spent 9 years coaching baseball at the college level, and so the coaching piece, the sharing knowledge, the learning and sharing knowledge, that whole piece is really important to me. I think that developing the younger groups, the newer age groups, it's something that can't be forgotten. And so for me, yes, our company, our group, we do asset and mechanical integrity, and we help people develop their programs. But like that's just a piece of it for me. For me, the other side of it is trying to help spread knowledge, keep people safe, and do what we can to help develop the younger people so that they can be solid contributing individuals at whatever it is they end up doing. So for me, the goal of us having these conversations and starting this
Yeah.
is to be able to do exactly that. Be able to talk with you, talk with other people, and pull information out of people's brains so that it can be disseminated to everybody. That's really my goal with anything, is trying to be able to share knowledge.
Yeah. One of the things I really enjoy about working with you, Brandon, is you also have a thirst for new technology. And I see you, implementing new technology in different areas in different ways. And the group Core Solutions that you have responsibility for naturally is doing a lot of work in statistics. And, one of the buzzwords of today or phrases is CML optimization and all that kind of stuff. But what are the things about what you're doing right now that really make you excited from a technology standpoint? Where do you think we're going with technology? What can we do today, and what are we on the verge of being able to do tomorrow?
When yesterday and in the last couple of weeks, as I've been thinking about kind of how we were going to get this started, this was actually something I was kind of thinking about. My hot take on the future for technology is actually that I think virtual reality doesn't have a place. That's my hot take in our
Mm-hmm.
industry.
Hmm.
I think that for design and project work, maybe there's a place for it. But where I really think there's a place moving forward is augmented reality. And so the augmented reality is where, let's say you have right, like you and I wear glasses, right? And the ability to look at something and something to show up on that on the lens that tells you about what you're looking at. So I think Google Glass has this, or Meta. People have these, right? I think that augmented reality. The other example would be like for, I don't know if this resonates with you, but Pokemon Go. So it's an app on your phone, and you can walk around and you turn your camera on, and you can point your phone at like a tree. And next to that tree, there'll be a little Pokemon on your phone. Obviously not in real
Right.
life, but on your phone, there's a little Pokemon. That's augmented reality, where it takes the ability to take a video or something that you're seeing and add to it. I think there's a huge place for that in our industry. As you start looking at offshore, as you look at midstream with a lot of their remote facilities, the ability to send one person out in the field and have multiple people call in and see what they're seeing at the same time and be able to provide insights back. I think that that's going to be something that's going to be useful. Or even if it's somebody that you can send out in the field, and if they're looking at the plant and having their systems or their circuits overlaid on the piping. Now that's like, we're definitely not close to that happening. But think about it. When you're walking through and you're looking at the pipe rack and you're trying to figure out where does that line come from? Where does it go? And all the little bends and turns that happen that, oh, you get confused and now you're following the wrong piece. I think augmented reality has a future for us. What about you? What do you think of the future of technology?
Well, I think we have some challenges. And one of those is that sometimes we get moving so far forward that we forget about what was behind us and what did we learn from that. And, I've been in this business since that fixed equipment reliability, industrial process industries since the mid 70s. And I've seen a lot, I've seen OSHA come along in the early 90s. I had the pleasure of working for some awesome corrosion materials engineering people and chemists in the early days. And one of the things that I'd like to see, and maybe this is an augmented reality thing, maybe it's something else, but I really think in this industry is missing mentoring. People have become so busy, you don't see people mentoring anymore. And I don't know, I don't believe you can just replace that with AI. And right in line with mentoring is contextualization, is context. And, I recently posted something on LinkedIn that's got some really good time, a lot of coverage on the internet, but is about how important the context of what we do is. I framed it with talking with my son, Tyler, a discussion we had years ago. And I asked him, well, what he thought was more important, the spirit of the law or the letter of the law. And I've been on the API committee since 87 and been involved in, 510, 570, RBI stuff, damage mechanisms, other things. And what the people that aren't in the room when we're debating these different standards and recommended practices, what they don't get is the context of what around the arguments and the debates and how these things were brought up. And so I think we're going to be challenged, where I think AI is a great tool. There are some things yet that it can't do, and I don't know how it's going to pass along context. So that's where I think something like you were just talking about, this visualization in context is what you're talking about. Could be something cool to help with that. I just hope we don't lose it. Like one of the books that I love going back to is called Wealth of Nations. It was written by Adam Smith. And a lot of people consider him the godfather of capitalism or free enterprise. And what he says is that a business has no conscience. The basic purpose of a business is to return maximum profit to the shareholders, and that it's the organization and or the laws, whether they're city, county, state, federal, whatever, those are the things that have to impose limits on the free enterprise. Otherwise, you wind up with sweatshops like we had, way back when in the US, but we still have sweatshops around the world where, greed can take hold. And what I like about working in the realm of reliability and mechanical integrity is putting the safety of the people working in the plants and the communities that surround these facilities, number one, and environmental responsibility, number two, and fiduciary responsibility, number three, and realizing, see, in the old days, and I saw this in the whole transition, especially when OSHA came along with the PSM, the Process Safety Management Rule 1910.119 back in the early 90s, is a lot of management got afraid, oh, they're going to tie our hands and now we're going to have to do all this useless, unnecessary stuff because of OSHA. But it was at that same time because some thinking people saw it coming when API put out a bid for facilitating development of risk-based inspection technology. And that was back in like 91. And so they saw this performance-based standard coming and people were dreading a prescriptive type of rule, which is not what happened. It's performance based. But now you got to realize that RBI is a very holistic way to approach issues and, making people accountable. So, going back to Adam Smith and, to his credit too, he's the guy that came up with separation of labor with our division of labor, which was very important especially, for automobile making and other things, but anything really, division of labor. That was another thing just want to mention that really goes back to safety, environmental responsibility, reliability. And what I want to say is that they're not mutually exclusive. And what I see over time is that what I believe are the forward thinking producers who are of the, hey, let's not strangle the goose to get the last golden egg out of it. Instead, let's nurture the goose. Let's take care of it so we can get a lot of golden eggs. So instead of being short sighted and greedy, they're being more long sighted and making decisions for the health of the organization to continue being profitable and learning how to balance all these things, learning how they all fit together so that we can be safe, we can be environmentally responsible and make a profit. So, that's kind of and we're still struggling with that, right? Because I think a big thing that I'll say personally for me, and maybe this will cause some debate out there, is automation. We've got all these software programs out there now, like asset performance management software applications that are supposed to help us be more effective, be more efficient. And I say it that way because sometimes, how engineers are, you guys can work on, you want to be efficient, efficient, efficient. The problem is if you're not effective first, you might just be doing the wrong thing faster. So it's important that we have the SMEs engaged. And what I was going to say is these asset performance management automation programs that are out there, they make a lot of promises, but they really have to be stewarded and implemented properly. And I think that's a big challenge for the industry. If you listen to the McKinseys and the Ernst and Youngs and the Deloittes and the Accentures and all these guys is the greatest stuff since sliced bread. And yeah, you're going to spend X amount of dollars and you're going to get a 5,000X return for doing it. I never hear the people come back talking about getting the 5,000X. They seem like they're still struggling just to really get these systems up and running and where they're user friendly and they're being adopted and implemented fully and taken advantage of by the people in the plant. So that's what I see realistically as still a big challenge for us going forward.
So, like any new endeavor, at this point, we unfortunately experienced a small technical difficulty. And so we had to call it quits for the day. However, today is a new day and we are starting back up, hopefully somewhere near where we left off, and are continuing our conversation forward.
Yeah,
What is your goal with with this endeavor? What is your goal with this endeavor?
right.
I mean, what is it?
Well, my goal with this is to cover topics that are important to people running facilities today, oil and gas, petrochemical, upstream, downstream, midstream, related to fixed equipment reliability and mechanical integrity. So that means it's going to cover the gamut. When I say mechanical integrity, most people conjure up the notion of compliance with regulators. When I say reliability, it's satisfying the business side of it is how do we be profitable? So it's like, how do we be profitable without hurting or killing people? And I believe that those are both achievable. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And we got to overcome, we got to give management the ammunition they need because in the old days, and maybe it's still today somewhat, as management feels like compliance is an albatross. It's like a slug. It's like, yeah, we have to do compliance. We're going to spend a lot of money wasting money on compliance. But what we really want to do is keep as many pounds flowing through the pipe as possible because that's profitability, especially because things are so competitive.
Right.
So
But
I
also,
like,
but also keeping, yeah, and also keeping the safety piece in there, right? Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
we can be profitable, we can be profitable, but we can also, make sure that we're doing it in a responsible way.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, my goal with this endeavor is to try and share as much knowledge as we can. For me, it's for people that are out there in the industry. sharing stories, sharing tidbits, little pieces. If there's something that if we bring somebody on the show, or if we have a conversation between us and it provides even the slightest amount of value to somebody, whether it's in their personal development, somebody up and coming and being able to grow themselves or take a little piece and think differently about something, or if it's something that some type of manager or inspector or somebody had that they're able to take away and they're able to run their operation in a safer way or in a smarter way, that's something that I'm interested in providing back. And then just a humanizing point. Like, there's a lot of names, there's a lot of people that you and I both know that we see one side of them, but everybody else maybe doesn't see that, or it's a name, it's somebody that's up on a pedestal, and humanizing a lot of the people in this industry and helping people realize that, like, you can be that person too.
Yeah,
Everybody's just a person. So
that's
like,
right.
so you can be that person too, because they are, as my daughter says, they're a human. They're all humans. We're all people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm looking to get out of this.
Yeah. And when you look at the continuum, the whole thing, it's like, why do refineries and petrochemical plants and upstream and downstream oil and gas facilities exist? And it's to improve life for humans. It's ultimately, it's about delivering products that help us enjoy the best way of living.
Yeah.
It's not for the sake of technology or for the sake of plastics or oil or gas. It's for people,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's the end game.
They're the final customer, right? We talk about internal and external customers and sales. They're the people, the general public is the final customer, the end customer.
So
Yeah. I get
that's
people all the time. They're like, are you concerned with where oil and gas is going? Do you think that it's going to go away? No, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. We're too, right now, especially at least for the next 20 years, it's too ingrained in the things that we do. There, if the world is moving towards lithium ions and batteries, that's fine, but
yeah,
there's still plastic, and so people will just pivot on what they're developing. We'll see refineries reconfiguring and moving more towards the plastics. That's the way that the market is going to go. We're going to see that happen. We already see it with some of the companies out there selling off their refining assets and staying mainly in chemicals, or selling off chemicals and move. They're taking bets on whichever way they think the market's going to go. But once the market makes a move and that happens, we'll see all of these companies pivot to the way that provides money, right? It's all about, it's that profit piece. They have to continue to show value back to their shareholders.
exactly. I mean, even if you look at the nuclear industry and how that's going through a renaissance and, a reemergence because of the amount of energy that it can produce. Still, though, at the end of the day, I love the Energy Transfer commercial. I think it was on during not this past Super Bowl, with the previous one, but, it showed this lady who was pregnant and her water broke and she was having to go to the hospital. And she got there, it's like, well, what if we didn't have oil and gas? And they walk into the room and there's nothing there.
Yeah,
Right. And then did you see that one?
I did. Yeah.
And then it all fills in when the oil and gas comes in. I mean, like it or not, I mean, that's the reality.
Yep.
All these products, medical products, our clothes, our homes, our cars, everything is in one way or another dependent upon hydrocarbons. And we play a pivotal role in that, in mechanical integrity and fixed equipment reliability. So we want to protect the people in the plants. We want to protect the people in the communities around the plants. We want to protect the environments. And there are ways for everybody to be happy at the end of the day, right? To see this. And that's what I hope we're able to impart in these series of podcasts through our different guests is, stories on how to get your heads around this and how to use them. And the other thing too is how not to abuse them. Because, in the earlier discussion, I mentioned about automation. There's all these cool software programs and, we got AI, We've got these enterprise programs for managing assets and businesses and everything. But this is tough. I mean, things are moving at breakneck speed. Technology is moving at breakneck speed. And it's hard for people to all the time get their heads around this stuff. And let's face it, I'll say this in a nice way, but there's overly aggressive salesmen out there. And I'm hoping we can help add some sanity to this or some common sense to this and say, yeah, this technology and everything is great. It has a lot of promise. We just got to apply it responsibly and with common sense. And to make sure that another thing is about unqualified people making decisions, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And I think that, or I hope that in the course of these podcasts and our discussions, it'll help everybody get a better handle on this.
Well, that's a big point, right? Consumer education is a huge thing. When any of these new technologies, even just in conversations I have with people about RBI, you get people that are like, oh, we want to RBI this. Well, there's a certain level of consumer education that has to occur. When we start talking about CML optimization, again, the technology behind those things, consumer education that has to occur. Same thing, even at those low levels, same thing can happen at the higher level as well. Educating the overall public or the consumer around these different concepts and ideas. And that, again, that we can operate profitably, but we can also be responsible about it.
Yeah, and exactly. And when we're like, for instance, in the case of automation, these enterprise systems that are hooking up with the ERPs like SAP and Oracle and so forth, what we need not forget are the people charged with implementing this stuff. So we talk about all this technology, but are you thinking about work processes in the field? Are you thinking about how user friendly it is? I mean, yeah, they're disruptive technologies, but the juice has got to be worth the squeeze, right?
There's so much more that goes into it, right? We can sell these things to the upper levels, but there's all the other pieces that trickle down to the frontline forces that nobody at that high level understands or sees. You can bring that software piece in, but how are we going to get information in? How are we going to get the data in? What's the workflow, right? All those things that you said, that's not what's being sold. What's being sold is the big picture. And that's great. The big picture is really important, but we can't forget about how it affects the day-to-day operations. And yeah, okay, we can say, oh, it's going to help everybody. That's a sales thing. You got to really set it up and be forward thinking about how you set it up so that it can help on the day-to-day.
Yeah. And one of the things I see us lacking in is that, and again, not to so much pick on automation, but they come in with these grandiose promises of, boy, if you spend this money to implement our system, it's going to save you $1 gazillion. Is anybody going back and saying, okay, we implemented these systems. What's the ROI been? What have we seen? What are the results?
I don't think we're far enough in, right? I think all of those, for when we're talking automation and those types of efforts, I don't think we're far enough in to actually be able to show that for the big picture. We can sit there and say, oh yeah, this last 2 months, we saved X number, but that's not the big picture. I think people are still learning and figuring out. That's why I don't think virtual reality is something that's going to be a long-term value adder for the people in the plant. I just don't see it, because I don't think that it's something that's going to show that level of return. I think that augmented reality, like we talked about, I think that shows value, that shows return, but some of these other things that are already in place, I think it's still too new for them to really be able to report back on.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I agree with you on the automation, but on the technology side, let me give you an example. So years ago, we may have done RBI, and we did, on thousands of heat exchangers, let's say. And I'm talking 20 years ago almost. Has anybody gone back and said, what kind of reliability improvements have we seen? Are we getting fewer leaks per year? I mean, it's been long enough on that stuff. Right?
Probably. Yeah. Right.
And
We've been through a couple turnaround cycles.
yeah. I mean, RBI now has been around, an API we pretty much shoved off in the late 90s.
So 25, 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a long time ago. So who's reporting on what results we've seen as a result?
I, I haven't seen, or I don't know of these. I mean, I would hope, and I'm going to guess that probably some of our larger facilities and our larger companies are maybe keeping track of that internally. But I don't know. I don't have any knowledge.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. And then when we talk about things like CML optimization and stuff like that, okay, we started kind of toying around with that some years back, but hopefully we'll begin to start seeing some results from that and what the ROI has been from that.
For sure. But yeah, Greg, I'm excited for this whole endeavor. As we've said, it's been a little time coming, but I'm excited every time we talk about it, every time we hop on and have a conversation about it. It gets me more and more excited to get more people on here and get their thoughts and continue to drive the thought process in this space.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to it, Brandon. I hope everybody else is, and I hope they let us know, or make recommendations about people to interview. I know we've already got a pretty good list, but there's more to come. And technology, like I said, it's developing at breakneck speed.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Yep. So, all right, Greg. Well, till next time, we'll talk to you.
Sounds good, Brandon. Have a good one, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Upon Further Inspection, a mechanical integrity podcast. This episode was co-created by Inspectioneering and Core Solutions. If you enjoyed this episode, please join us next time wherever you listen to your podcast. Until then, stay safe and stay informed. Our producers are Nick Schmoyer, Jocelyn Christie, and Jeremiah Wooten. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or professional advice. Listeners should seek their own qualified advisors for guidance.